Hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Zelda and this is African Perspective. Today we're going to be talking about hair. All things wigs, fake hair, relaxes, extensions, all of that stuff in the African context. And so you might be wondering why I'm covering this today. I have been thinking about perceptions of beauty. I have a Substack, I'll link it down below, and I write a lot about just a bunch of things. And recently I just started thinking about the idea of beauty, how we view beauty, how I personally view beauty. And as an African woman, I started wondering, where do my perceptions about how I'm perceived, where do those perceptions come from? And so I landed on hair, I landed on body shapes, and then I also landed on skin color. And so over the next week, so in 3 separate videos, that's what we're going to be looking at. And today we're going to start with wigs and extensions and relaxes, everything that's to do with African hair. So if that is something that interests you, so stick around and see what I have to say. So over the last couple of years, I have started growing my hair. It's not something that I've always done my whole life, so it's that my experience is a little bit different from some people you may have met. It was only from 2017 when I started growing my hair. Before that, I was a bald girly. I never grew my hair because I was, no, honestly, part of it was because of schooling, but it was entirely because of schooling. So I went to Christian schools, my middle schools, and boarding all girls Roman Catholic schools. So we were never going to be allowed to keep our hair. And so when I started growing out my hair in the beginning, it was very easy because it was very short. But over time, even going to salons became a little bit hard because I would cry while people braiding my hair. And I think internally, I started feeling like, oh my God, maybe my hair is just difficult to handle. But that wasn't just an internal thing. People were actively telling me that. Like my hairstylists who are Tanzanians, they were like, just relax your hair, it's gonna make your life so much easier. Or just like do cornrows, don't bother with wigs, or do dreadlocks. That was the other thing. They're like, just do dreadlocks and forget about it. Like natural hair is very hard to maintain. And eventually I ended up relaxing my hair. And now over the last couple of years, I think my hair is now like shoulder length. These extensions, if you're not African and you're wondering what's going on, these extensions, my natural hair is roughly shoulder length. I started thinking about it, I'm like, as much as I appreciate the ease of having relaxed hair, I'm starting to miss my natural hair and starting to think about, I don't think I was meant to live a life where I'm hiding from what is natural to me. I feel like maybe I've picked up ideas that Afro textured hair is hard to maintain. Afro textured hair is this and that, and I want to, or at least this is what I did for this video. I wanted to delve into all things natural hair and how Africans have perceived their hair and what is happening with the wig industry, what is happening with the fake hair industry. Because when I did that, what I came across is that Africa's hair game is roughly $6 billion worth of a market. $6 billion worth of a market. And of course, I started looking at what countries are the top. Thank God I'm Tanzanian, so thank God Tanzania wasn't top of the list. But you can all take a guess who was top of the list. It was obviously Nigeria. It was obviously Nigeria. Before I even looked at the statistics, I just knew it was going to be Nigeria. Part of the reason was they are the largest in terms of population in the continent, but also one of the reasons I started thinking about beauty was because I was watching the Hunt Game show by Nons Mirage. Nons Mirage, if you're watching this, I'm a big fan. And there was girls, it's like Pop the Balloon. There are girls in a row and a guy comes in and they converse and all that stuff. And then if there's a match, there's a match. Usually there's like an exchange of words sometimes. And there was an exchange of words between this one guy and a girl. And the guy said, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. You don't even have money to afford a wig anyways. She was the only girl with like braids in the lineup. And I was gagged. Like usually I just play the Hunger Game show in the background and do my own thing. But that line caught me. I was like, what did he say? And so I started thinking about that. And to me it was just like, okay, so what is going on with the wig industry? Like, is this something that is viewed as prestigious? Is it a symbol of status? And so naturally, especially with a country like Nigeria, it's not a wonder that when I looked at the statistics, Nigeria were at the top of the list. And by far, if before I say the number, just go ahead and try and guess how much you think Nigeria imports in terms of fake hair. It is $429 million. That is almost half of a billion. Okay, these are people who are complaining. I mean, this is not me trying to like crap on Nigerians because I'm not doing that, but these are people who live in it's not a poor country, but people are poor. People are crying about Sapa. But you're here talking about 500 million, almost $500 million people are spending in wigs. Wigs. It's crazy. But Nigeria is not the only one, of course. It's just it's just like the heavyweight champ of the wig industry. The second one in line is the DRC. I did not expect it to be the DRC. I did not expect it to be the DRC. Part of the reason is the DRC is one of the poorest countries in Africa. And to me, it's just like, it's just telling in some context that your people are so poor, but they have money to afford wigs. It tells you something like people are spending money that they would have spent on, I don't know, food, they would have spent on their kids' education, they would have spent on building a business, but they're spending $105 million, DRC Congo, if you're watching this, they are spending this money to buy wigs. They're spending this money to buy extensions. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with trying to look beautiful, but it's just, it goes to show that because these people are bald, these people have their own hair, but they're taking money out of their pockets to buy wigs, to buy fake hair, to buy extensions. And I'm just concerned. I'm just like, I wonder where this comes from. Anyways, number 2 is the DRC. Number 3 is Ghana, 24.2 million. Number 4 is Cameroon at 14.8 million. And then, of course, it was about time, South Africa. Roughly 11.5 million. By the way, while we're in the topic of South Africa, if any South African is watching, can you guys start a petition to change the name of your country? Because number 1, just for grammatical reasons, it's very confusing to say South Africa. Very confusing. But number 2, just for like pride in your own nation. You know, like what do South Africans call South Africa in some of their native languages? Pick a word, and then name it that instead of using like an English word. I'm not South African, but I'm very bothered. Very bothered by the fact that it's called South Africa. And then number 6, obviously, Kenya. Kenya is everywhere. 8.7 million. Number 7, Cote d'Ivoire. 6.5 million. Some of these are estimates. Number 8, Togo. 5.2 million. Number 9, Zimbabwe. 4.8 million. And then 10, Angola. 3.5 million. And so, to me, this is just like, it's so funny, some of the countries that I hear, like at least Nigeria is doing not very well, but in African terms, Nigeria is doing fairly well compared to other countries. At least they can get away with being like, okay, our economy is doing fairly okay. But countries like the DRC, countries like Zimbabwe, what are you guys doing on this list of wig imports? Shame. Anyways, I was thinking about, like I said, these are the statistics. I wanted some data to back up all the claims that I'm about to make, or some of the claims that I've already made. But I considered, why is this the case? Why is it that fake hair? Why is it that wigs? Why is it that extensions? All this is a big thing in the continent. And going back to the hand game show thing that I mentioned, it obviously has something to do with status, but I wonder if it has something to do with internalized racism. And so the first time I heard the term internalized racism, in my mind I was like, there's no way, until I related it back to myself, and I was like, I have been outside of Tanzania for the last 6 years. When did I wear my natural hair? I wore it, I think honestly, for the most part, I wore it like for 1 week in undergrad. And even then, I felt very conscious. I wore it over the weekend, and I never wore it to class because I felt very conscious of my natural hair. And to me, it's just like, where did that come from? Because my hair, that's the way God created me. Why am I so concerned about my hair? And I started looking into the history of how black hair has been treated. And I didn't, of course, I looked into some of the things. I didn't go all the way in depth. But the very first thing that came up was the pencil test that was done in South Africa during apartheid. And I have a pen here. I don't have a pencil, but I have a pen. I mean, I do have a pencil, but it's far away. I have a pen. And basically the pencil test is, they would basically take you'd come in, and then they would slide a pencil in your hair. If it passed through easily, you had straight hair, you're white. You're considered white. If it passed through with some resistance, you're considered colored, but you eventually came through. But like with African hair, I don't know if I can tell you about mine because I'm in braids, but like this would never, it can't even go through, like, then you're considered black. And so the pencil test, just a tiny little pencil, was going to determine how you're going to be treated. Because in apartheid South Africa, if you're white, you get a whole lot of rights. Colored people got a few rights, and then black people essentially had no rights. And it would determine where you're going to live. It would determine how you're going to be treated, places you could go socially, employment opportunities, education opportunities. So I wonder whether things like that, and it not just happened in South Africa, they were missionary schools all over Africa where you were being told, oh, like I said, I went to an all-girls boarding school, Roman Catholic. It was at some point invented by missionaries who came to the coast of Tanzania. You're told, oh, keep your hair clean, keep your hair straight, keep your hair this, and you're like, oh my goodness, maybe my natural hair is ugly, maybe I shouldn't wear my natural hair out. And now this is something that has been going on, and I'm like, our continent is so poor. We should not be spending $6 billion importing wigs. We should actually, like, let's actually talk about this. We're so poor as a continent, and you're telling me $6 billion. It's not to import computers. No. It's not to import, I don't know, books. It's not to import, I don't know, something else, something, I don't know, electronics or something. $6 billion is to import wigs. It's to import fake hair. Oh my god. Oh my, gagged. And to me, it's just like, I mean, I'm criticizing this. Of course, I have I know I'm a little hypocrite. Trust me, I'm working on it. But it's just, it confuses me because I'm like, we're complaining that we're poor. We're complaining we don't have money, and we're spending $6 billion to import hair while God gave us hair on our heads. Amazing. And personally, like I said, I'm not I'm not a hypocrite per se, but maybe a little bit. But I relaxed my hair a couple of years ago, and I think for me it had more to do with, okay, I'm gonna place blame on other people. I know I have to take accountability, but I struggled quite a lot with like hairstylists trying to do my hair. I cried. I was oftentimes, like, every time I did my hair, I would cry, and I did this by myself. I've said it. I had to learn to do my own hair because every time I went to a salon, I would cry because hairstylists would be like, your hair is so hard to comb, your hair is so hard to partition, your hair is so hard to do this, your hair is so hard to do that, and they'd be like, just relax your hair, just relax your hair. Every single time I heard that message, and eventually I gave in, and I had to relax my hair. But sometimes I feel kind of guilty. I do feel guilty because I'm like, I want to keep on, I want to wear my natural hair out because it feels like I'm hiding a part of myself, you know? And I think that does something to you with your self-esteem as well. Like when you step into, I haven't seen, for example, I aspire to work in policy, but I haven't seen like a black woman in policy wearing their natural hair out. I haven't even seen them wearing braids because they're deemed unprofessional. They wear like wigs, of course, or they relax the hair and try to make it straight. And to me, it's just like, I wonder what that does to you. And of course, when I was reading across several sources, one that stood out to me was that 80% of South African black women relax their hair. 80%. They feel the need to relax their hair. Like, and of course you can say, oh, it's ease, African hair is hard to comb, but then I'm like, what did our ancestors used to do before relaxers were invented, you know? Like, think of, like, I don't know, 900 AD. What were they doing before the Portuguese and the Dutch and the British and the Germans and the Italians came to the continent? I'm so sure they had a lot. This is something maybe we should do in another video, but like, I'm so sure they had something going on for themselves. Like, they were designing their own hairstyles. They were doing stuff with their hair, and I think it's something they were proud of. And over time, of course, we're going to blame colonialism, but colonialism was just, oh my god, I don't know why God let colonialism happen, but I think it totally destroyed our perception of ourselves. And I'm like, it does something to you, even the way you step into international contexts, even when we're talking about how other countries are proud of themselves. And I'm looking at countries like Tanzania, and I'm like, I'm proud to be Tanzanian, but why can't I wear my Tanzanian hair out in international settings? I wonder. I really, really wonder. And to me, when I started looking into this topic of like beauty and hair and all that, it goes beyond just, okay, I want to be proud of my heritage, I want to be proud of myself. It goes into what we are fueling. $6 billion. China is the biggest exporter, 2.25 billion in exporting fake hair to the world. And I wonder, China as a country, when it comes to manufacturing, their ethics are just in the gutter systems of hell. And just beyond that, their labor rights are crazy. And I started wondering, where does this hair come from? I've personally never worn a human hair wig. I've worn like a few synthetic. I want two, actually. I'm not gonna take the fall. I've worn 2 synthetic wigs in total. And I started looking into this, and number one, the people who work in these factories, the best estimate that I could find of how much they get paid is roughly $7 an hour. $7 an hour. Crazy. And that is assuming these are people working like synthetic wig factories, but people who work with like human hair, you wonder, where does that hair come from? People, I watched a documentary by Refinery 29, so on YouTube, just search Refinery 29 wig documentary. People who donate their hair, women who donate their hair, are very desperate. These buyers take advantage of them. They pay them like $3, $4 for their hair. Okay, and then they come sell you a human hair wig for like $3,000, and you pay. Of course you pay, because you want to look like a white woman. You pay. And not just that, when you think about just beyond that, For some people are like, oh, what if I buy my hair from India? It's donated by people who go to the temple. To me, the idea of like wearing somebody else's hair on my head, just no. It just, if you like that and that's your thing, good for you. But as for me and my house, no. And think about, where exactly does that hair come from? Are people really honest about all of their sources? Because I've heard, first of all, there was a woman whose hair was rubbed from her, like her hair was rubbed at gunpoint. Somebody held a gun and was like, "Give me your hair." I'm sorry if you're watching this. I'm sorry, but like, I think it's kind of crazy that this industry has been elevated so much, which brings me to, capitalism pisses me off so much, because it's like, it's the same thing with like weight loss. We're going to talk about this in the next video when we talk about body shapes and body figures, but it's like they degrade you for who you naturally are, and then they try to sell you solutions for a problem that doesn't even exist. So it's the same thing with like African hair. They're like, oh my god, your hair is disgusting, but me, the same person who's telling you hair is disgusting, I have a solution already. Relax it. Oh, if you don't relax it, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Here's a wig that I created for you. Absolutely insane. Which the other thing that baffles me is women who you have cornrows, you contour in at your hair, and then you wear hair that looks exactly like your hair texture. And I'm like, why don't you just wear hair that looks like your hair texture? You know? And I know I'm sounding very judgmental, but like, I think something needs to be said of all of this, because number one, other than the woman who got her hair stolen from her, some of the human hair wigs that you're wearing, there are reports, not me, don't shoot the messenger, that they come from cadavers, dead bodies. Okay, people are donating organs so their kidneys can function. You are having hair donated to you. Okay, some of it is from salon floors, like people who went to cut their hair and then oops, somebody cleans it up, goes to make you a wig. Some of it is from shower drains. Ew, ew, ew. I hope I'm never caught wearing a human hair wig. Oh my god. I hope I'm caught. I hope I'm never caught wearing a human hair wig. And part of the reason is, this is something else I had to look into. It's the effects that it has on your body. Okay, there was a study that was done in Nigeria in 2024, and every single brand they looked at into that study, they found dangerous chemicals that are carcinogens. Those are cancer-causing agents. So people were saying, oh, infertility is on the rise. Oh, mental health issues are on the rise. Some of these synthetic hair wigs have been linked to ADHD. They've been linked to endocrine system disruption. They've been linked to respiratory diseases. They've been linked to kidney damage. Okay, that's what we're looking at. They found 20 times the safe levels of lead recommended, not just lead. There was vanadium, nickel, chromium, cadmium. Some of these metals, I studied chemistry and biology. I've never heard of, I mean, it was up to high school level. I had heard of them at some point, but I don't even know what these chemicals look like. But they were found in your synthetic hair wigs. Or if you think about relaxers, 80% of South African women, you're relaxing hair. People have had burns. Like sodium hydroxide will eat at your scalp. Okay? And the studies have linked relaxers to fibroids. I was watching a podcast by Stephen Bartlett, and there was a toxicologist, and she was just going like ham on all things that black women are being marketed to, like things that are being marketed to black women. They're just so dangerous for your body. And so I know I have extensions on, but I just think this is something that somebody needs to say. Okay, do as I say, not do what I do. Don't do as I do. But I think this is something that I personally want to work on for myself. It's to be a little bit more proud of my natural hair. And it's there. Like, it's still there. But I think this is something that I want to actively start working on, just to be like, you know what? I need to wear it out more often. And I think it will do something to my self-esteem as well, because imagine stepping out and already criticizing parts of yourself, because I think it's like you're criticizing yourself. Like, oh my god, ew, my hair is ugly. I need to cover it up. You don't cover up something you think is beautiful. You put it out there and display it for people to see. So, yeah, that's my little rant. I hope that's my rant. Really, I just hope that I want to hear what you guys think, because I can't be the only person who thinks this way. So, thank you. That's all for today. In the next two videos, we're going to be looking at body shapes, how African body shapes are perceived, how African women perceive their body shapes. And then we're also going to be looking at skin color. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys think about this, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Oh, you'll see me in the next video. Bye.